I won't rush this confession today, because some stories deserve slow breathing. I don't know who stopped you from believing love could last forever, but listen closely before you scroll away, because this moment was written carefully. I married you before wrinkles came, before hands trembled, before mirrors lied. I married you when time was kind, when laughter echoed through young rooms. I married you without guarantees promised, without futures proven, without maps drawn. And now here you sit beside me, an old woman I chose daily. People ask me why I stayed when years grew heavy and youth disappeared. They never ask how you stayed when I failed you more than once. This confession is not perfect, just painfully honest and quietly brave. I married you knowing one day your hair would silver, your steps would slow. I married you knowing one day my strength would fade, my voice would crack. We were warned, love gets boring, love gets quiet, love gets tired, but nobody warned, love gets deeper. When bodies weaken and souls strengthen, you became beautiful in different ways, not magazine ways, but sacred ways. Your hands changed, lined with stories, etched with sacrifices, written by years. Every wrinkle is a chapter I help create by staying present. When you smile, I see memories, not just teeth, but decades lived. I remember nights when money vanished, hope felt expensive, and faith felt thin. You stayed then, holding silence gently, making broken meals feel like feasts. I remember mornings when anger spoke loudly and patience left early, yet you remained soft. I was not easy, I was not gentle, I was not wise. Back in those yes. Still you chose to believe growth could follow mistakes and healing was possible. This confession is for people who think love dies with youth. They don't see how love matures like wine aging inside shared suffering. I married you again every morning when your eyes searched for mine, even now when mirrors complain and knees protest and sleep comes early. I still choose your slow laughter, your familiar silence, your steady presence. There were storms we didn't film, arguments undocumented, tears unseen publicly. We almost broke more than once, not from hatred, but from exhaustion. Yet here we sit, older and gentler, less dramatic now, more deeply bonded. Your voice changed, so did mine, but our language became quieter truth. We no longer shout, we understand pauses, we read, breathing, we notice fatigue. This confession is not flashy, it's lived in love and worn in commitment. I married you before fame fantasies, before highlight reels, before filtered happiness. Now society laughs at old romance, calls it boring, calls it settled, but settling down was climbing mountains. No one applauded, no one recorded. I married you when staying required courage, when leaving looked easier, when vows felt heavy, and now look how peaceful we are, not because life softened, but because we did. You know my flaws. Before I speak them, you recognize silence. Before words arrive, that kind of knowing only comes through years, through disappointment endured, through forgiveness practiced. People chase sparks. We built a fire that survived winters and endless rain. Your body aged, but your soul became warmer and wiser daily. I married you, not for youth, but for loyalty, tested by time. Some nights we don't talk, just breathe together, sharing quiet gratitude. Those moments mean more now than loud beginnings ever could. This confession is not regretful, it is reverent and deeply proud. I see young couples romanticizing first kisses, but ignoring last breaths, shared faithfully. I want them to see us holding hands slowly, walking carefully together, because this is the real dream. Growing old together without becoming strangers. I married you to become this. Two souls weathered, yet still choosing us. Your eyes hold every version of me, the foolish boy, the angry man, and somehow you still see the good man I became later. That patience rewrote my destiny more than ambition ever could. If youth returned and time rewound, I would still choose this ending, because love is not fireworks. It is endurance wrapped in tenderness. I married you and kept marrying you after funerals, after failures, after children left, after dreams changed, after silence grew between conversations. And here we are, old and breathing, still choosing together, still holding on. This confession is for anyone afraid of aging, afraid of commitment. Love doesn't die, it transforms quietly if you stay long enough to witness. I married you so I could grow into someone worthy of your patience, and now finally I understand love not as passion but as presence. If you stayed until this moment, then this confession already owns you, because only hearts that fear loss listen this long without skipping ahead. So stay again, just a little, because now I speak even more honestly. We are older than dreams, promised, older than plans. We once whispered, our calendar pages feel heavier now, filled with doctors and quiet prayers. Yet every morning I still reach for your hand before my glasses, because memory fades, but habit remembers what love trained for decades patiently. I married you when strength mattered, now I stay. When weakness teaches, your steps slowed, mine followed gently, not out of pity, but shared rhythm. We walk differently, but together still, matching breaths carefully, matching silences instinctively. Sometimes we forget why we entered a room together, but never forget us. That is aging. not forgetting love, but releasing unimportant things. To hold essentials, your voice trembles. When you laugh, and somehow that sound breaks me softly, because I remember when laughter echoed through crowded rooms, calling everyone home. Now it calls only me, and that feels even more sacred. I married you for loud dreams. I stayed for quiet loyalty. Our photos faded, colors washed away, but our eyes learned deeper focus. We stopped proving anything to people and started protecting our remaining energy. That is wisdom earned painfully through years misunderstood and often underestimated. People think old love sleeps, but it stays awake, guarding fragile hearts. We argue less, not because perfect, but because time taught us cost. Every harsh word now feels expensive, paid with energy we no longer waste. I married you when winning mattered. Now peace matters more than being right. You correct me with looks now, not lectures, not raised voices, and I listen faster than before, because ego aged poorly, but love matured. There are nights, pain interrupts sleep, and I hold you like fragile glass, not fragile love, but fragile bones, housing a spirit that never weakened. You apologize for needing help, and I remind you, you carried me first. Through seasons, I was lost. Through storms, I was unbearable. You never left. You adjusted sails so our ship could survive waves. This confession is not romanticized. It is lived truth, etched into bones. I married you for attraction. I stayed for deep companionship. When friends vanished, when children scattered, when life simplified, you remained central. Our house grew quieter, yet our bond filled the silence. Without decoration, sometimes we sit, watching nothing, holding everything. We still have that stillness. Terrifies young hearts, but it comforts souls who endured. I married you before I understood what forever costs and what it rewards. Forever costs youth, forever costs pride, forever costs illusions, but rewards depth. Depth cannot trend, depth cannot filter, depth only grows when time stays. Your wrinkles speak languages I learned only by staying through every season. Each line says, I didn't leave. I endured storms. I chose again. I traced them with careful fingers, like reading scripture, written by patience. People celebrate beginnings. We honor survival. Because beginnings are easy, staying is rare. I married you when vows sounded poetic. Now they sound like daily discipline. Some days, love feels effortless. Other days, it feels intentional. Both days count. Both days matter. Both days build what we became. I see fear in your eyes sometimes, fear of becoming a burden someday. Let me confess, you never will, because love carried turns into honor. I will lift what you lifted, I will stay how you stayed. This is repayment, not obligation. This is devotion, fully matured. We joke less about the future and talk more about gratitude. Gratitude for mornings we still share. Gratitude for names we still remember. Gratitude for forgiveness we practiced early, so resentment never aged with us. I married you and learned slowly. Love is not intensity, it is consistency. Consistency looks boring to scrolling minds, but it builds unshakable safety. You know where everything is, including parts of me I forgot existed. You remind me who I was and gently guide who I still am. That kind of love cannot be replaced, cannot be upgraded, cannot be replicated. It only grows when two people refuse replacement culture and choose repair. We repaired arguments, repaired trust, repaired misunderstandings, repaired ourselves. That repair work made us sturdy, not shiny, but unbreakable. I married you and time tested every reason repeatedly, and none failed. Even now, when words escape and memories blur and days shorten, I still know this truth clearly. Marrying you was my wisest act, not my boldest, not my loudest, but my wisest decision ever made. If youth returns, asking for advice, I would whisper softly, choose someone you can age with, not someone who fears aging, because beauty fades, strength fades, but loyalty deepens. If fed daily, I married you so I could learn how love finishes, not how it starts. And here we are, nearing endings, still holding hands.